1. The Last House on the Left, 1972. Wes Craven kicked in the exploitation door like a battering ram. Two teenage girls hitch a ride, get kidnapped by escaped convicts, and the night spirals into humiliation, torture, and murder. Then comes a parental revenge spree that feels like suburban Vietnam. Buzzsaws, shotguns, a mouthful of razor blades. Craven shot it guerrilla style for about $90,000, hoping for a quick drive-in buck. Instead, he triggered nationwide panic. The MPAA screamed X. Regional censors flat out barred it. Some theaters ran bootlegs under fake titles. Newspaper critics called it unfit for human consumption. But grindhouse crowds lined up anyway, hurling popcorn or their lunches at the screen. Roger Ebert turned green, yet admitted the sheer shock value was undeniable. Britain banned it until 2002, and cops there actually raided mom-and-pop video shops for uncut tapes. Craven later said, "The outrage felt like being slapped and knighted at the same time. Mission accomplished." The movie raked in more than $3 million and birthed the modern rape revenge template. Horror got nastier, parents double-latched their doors, and Wes Craven went from unknown teacher to genre warlord overnight. 2. Mark of the Devil, 1970. Tongue-pulling, branding irons, buckets of vomit, Michael Armstrong's Austrian witch hunter epic wanted you sick before the opening credits finished. Hallmark Releasing hyped it as rated Vi for violence, handed out barf bags, and bragged no one could last the full 95 minutes. Made for roughly $75,000, it clawed back $2 million in the States alone, proving misery sells. U.S. drive-ins booked it, then unbooked it after PTA protests. Britain slammed the door completely until trimmed prints tiptoed in years later. Germany's censors kept it locked up until 2016, making it the second film after Texas Chainsaw ever officially unbanned. The gore is practical, wet, and relentless. Tongues yanked out like party streamers, heretics burned alive while priests grin. Critics labeled it sadistic pornography masquerading as history. Yet metal bands, horror zines, even Quentin Tarantino still name-drop it as the grindhouse gold standard. Armstrong insists the whole thing is an anti-authority parable. Audiences just remember the agony. Either way, if someone hands you a Mark of the Devil vomit bag in 2025, it's probably a collector's item, and you may actually need it. 3. The Devils, 1971. Ken Russell swung a wrecking ball through church walls with this blistering, half-historical fever dream. Oliver Reed plays Father Grandier, a swaggering priest accused of diabolic seduction by Vanessa Redgrave's obsessive hunchback nun. Warner Brothers bankrolled it, freaked out, then slashed everything: nudity, demonic orgies, the infamous Rape of Christ tableau. Even sliced the X-rated cut ignited riots. The Vatican denounced it. The National Catholic Office for Motion Pictures called it the most blasphemous picture ever released. British censors trimmed another minute before a grudging release. Several U.S. cities blocked it altogether. Russell's response? They paid for a tiger, then wanted a pussycat. Costing about £1.8 million, it still turned a tidy profit, then spent decades in legal limbo. Warner refuses to liberate the pristine negative. Cinephiles trade murky bootlegs like contraband scripture. Guillermo del Toro, Mark Kermode, and countless film school professors hail it as a masterpiece of spiritual hysteria, proof that cinema can still start a holy war without a single Marvel logo in sight. 4. Fight for Your Life, 1977. Imagine Last House colliding headfirst with raw, racially charged fury. 3 manic fugitives invade a black preacher's home, spewing hate while holding the family hostage. Director Robert Endelson spent under $200,000 and shot in upstate New York. What he delivered was too toxic for mainstream distributors. Some states banned it outright. Others yanked prints mid-run after NAACP protests sparked fistfights in lobbies. The UK's BBFC refused certification twice, consigning it to bootleg status until 2004. Quentin Tarantino calls it the nastiest home invasion flick ever. And he's not overselling. No comic relief, zero redemption arcs. Just mounting humiliation until the tables flip in a shotgun catharsis that leaves nobody clean. Critics were horrified. Grindhouse crowds howled approval. And 42nd Street cash registers jingled. Endelson insists he wasn't racist. I wanted to punch racism in the face. Mission debatable, controversy eternal. The film's raw ugliness remains a litmus test for how much cinematic venom you can swallow without gagging. 5. Cannibal Holocaust, 1979. Technically Italian, but U.S. censors treated it like contraband uranium. Ruggero Deodato's faux documentary follows a film crew that vanishes in the Amazon. Recovered footage reveals ritual dismemberment, impalement, and real animal slaughter. Customs agents seized prints at JFK. Some states issued outright bans. Others demanded 15 minutes hacked away. Deodato was arrested for obscenity and suspected murder in Italy. He had to drag the dead actors into court to prove they were alive. Shot for around $200,000, it's crossed the $20 million mark worldwide, all on a whisper campaign of outrage. Critics argued over whether it's a colonialism critique or pure snuff fantasy. Environmentalists condemned the on-screen turtle butchery. Eli Roth calls it the Mount Everest of horror, and even hardened gorehounds admit they watched through finger slits. 45 years later, the found footage genre still owes this jungle nightmare a blood debt. 6. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. Tobe Hooper's sun-baked scream turned summer barbecues into trauma sessions. Leatherface swings that roaring saw, but you barely see blood. Yet censors swore it was the goriest thing ever. The MPAA refused an R. Drive-ins played unrated prints until authorities threatened citations. Britain banned it for 25 years. Montreal police impounded reels after 3 showings. Even the word chainsaw got blacklisted from local ads. Budget, $140,000 box office, north of $30 million. Hooper called it a political statement wrapped in meat. Audiences just felt flayed alive. Overnight, every backroad gas station looked dangerous, every farmhouse suspicious. Future slashers, from Halloween to Friday the 13th, copied its grainy nihilism. But nothing replicates that first sweaty hour when 5 hippies stumble into a house of bones and realize nobody's coming to save them, least of all the ratings board. In 7. I Spit on Your Grave, 1978. Director Mir Zarchi claimed righteous anger inspired this. He'd helped a sexual assault survivor reach the police and watched her suffer indifference. What he filmed is unflinching. A writer retreats to the woods, endures a gang rape, and hunts her attackers with knives, nooses, and an infamous bathtub castration. Major studios slammed the door. Zarchi four-walled theaters himself, pocketing every dime until regional bans kicked in. Australia barred it for decades. The UK ping-ponged between seizures and heavily snipped VHS. Roger Ebert detonated, "Vile bag of garbage." Grindhouse freaks answered with sold-out midnights, pushing grosses past $5 million. Feminist scholars still spar, empowerment or exploitation. Whatever your stance, the film's blunt trauma never dulled. Every modern revenge thriller, Kill Bill, Revenge, Promising Young Woman, lives in its shadow, trying to balance savagery and justice while audiences debate if the scales can ever truly even out. 8. Thriller, A Cruel Picture, 1973. Swedish director Bo Arne Vibenius wanted commercial as hell. He delivered the grindhouse equivalent of being dragged over glass. A mute victim of childhood assault is kidnapped, pumped full of heroin, and forced into sex work until she masters kung fu, shotgun surgery, and one-eyed vengeance. Vibenius spliced hardcore inserts to guarantee an X rating, then fired blanks at censors by billing it the movie that has no limits of evil. Sweden cut 30 minutes. U.S. distributors snipped frames to avoid obscenity charges. Australia and Germany banned it flat. Quentin Tarantino made Daryl Hannah study it for Kill Bill's L Driver, calling it the roughest revenge film ever. Budget, $300K. Payoff, cult immortality. Stylized slow-mo shootouts collide with grimy 16mm realism, like Peckinpah covered in sewer slime. There's no witty dialogue, no mercy, just a single eye blazing with chemical fury while Morricone wannabe horns blare. By the final freeze frame, you feel like you've swallowed shrapnel, and maybe liked it. 9. Elsa, She-Wolf of the SS, 1975. What do you do with leftover Hogan's Heroes sets? If you're low-budget legend Don Edmonds, you stage Nazi atrocities with busty dominatrix Diane Thorne front and center. Shot for $150K under Canadian tax loopholes, it earned $2 million worldwide and birthed an entire Nazi-exploitation wave. Censors spasmed. Australia, New Zealand, and West Germany banned it outright. The UK refused certification until 2010. Even Canada tried to disown its own movie. Thorne's Elsa tortures POWs to prove women outlast men. Boiling baths, freezing chambers, medical needles, in places needles shouldn't go. Crew members petitioned to have their names removed. Critics called it worse than pornography. Yet audiences formed midnight queues stretching around 42nd Street, chanting, "Sieg blood." 3 sequels followed, each wilder than the last. Today, Elsa screens at art houses with academic panels discussing its gender power reversal. Whatever helps you sleep after the shower. 10. Women in Cell Block 9, 1978. Jess Franco made sleaze like other people make toast. This Swiss-shot jungle prison romp hits the ground face first. Naked inmates, sadistic guards, zero plot. Franco spent peanuts, about $75K, using abandoned army barracks and non-actors desperate for a paycheck. The UK's BBFC flat-out rejected it as late as 2004, citing sexualized violence with no context or justification. Italy banned it theatrically. The US saw only gray market VHS dribbling from New York storefronts. Even Franco fans call it his grimiest, which is saying something for a man with 200 films of grime. The violence feels uncomfortably real. Ants on tied bodies, electric shocks, bullet ant stings. No heroes, just nihilism in 90 humid minutes. Tarantino screened it privately, then reportedly took a shower that lasted an hour. If you ever need proof that censors sometimes have a point, Cell Block 9 is Exhibit A through Z, or Z grade, depending on your tolerance. 11th SS Experiment Camp, 1976. Yet another Nazi dungeon saga, this time Italian director Sergio Garrone, using the alias Amina Smith, no kidding, to dodge lawsuits. Plot: female prisoners subjected to grotesque fertility experiments so the Reich can breed super soldiers. Garrone spent under $200,000, obviously none on taste. Britain videotaped it in the 1980s nasty sweep. Uncut release didn't arrive until 2005. U.S. Customs seized prints labeled medical documentary. Nice try. Critics panned the wooden acting. Censors hammered the nudity plus torture cocktail. Still, horror conventions sell out midnight retrospectives, complete with Nazi uniform cosplayers who may or may not get the irony. Garrone once shrugged, "If people pay, history will forgive." Spoiler, history hasn't. 12th, Faces of Death, 1978. John Allen Schwartz stitched together real morgue footage, crash reels, and staged executions, then marketed it as an educational exploration of mortality. Cost: $450,000. Gross: $35 million, largely from word-of-mouth dares in schoolyards. The UK declared it obscene. Australia jailed importers. American video chains hid it behind black curtains. Rumors swirled that every scene was genuine. Special effects wizard Alan Ormsby eventually admitted 60% was fake, but winked. Viewers can't tell which 60. Teenagers triple dog dared each other to watch the monkey brain scene without puking. The tape became a rite of passage, a VHS haunted house that law enforcement couldn't quarantine fast enough. By the time sequels arrived, censors had surrendered. The franchise's infamy was already tattooed on pop culture's forehead. 13. Snuff, 1975. The biggest con job in grindhouse history. Michael and Roberta Findlay shot a shabby Manson-inspired bloodbath in Argentina, shelved it, Then distributor Alan Shackleton added a tacked-on, real murder scene and advertised the whole thing as an actual snuff film. Feminist protests, FBI inquiries, and late-night news hysteria followed. Budget: original $30,000 plus $11,000 for the fake kill. Profit: over $1 million, pure carnival cash. Several U.S. cities banned screenings. Cops raided projectors hunting for evidence. Eventually, the victim went on talk shows to prove she was alive, but by then the myth was bulletproof. Modern true crime podcasts still reference Snuff as ground zero for urban legend marketing. Proof you can sell any horror if the audience thinks someone really died for it. 14. Blood-Sucking Freaks, 1976. Joel M. Reed's off-Broadway horror farce begins with a magician sawing women in half on stage, only it's not a trick. He and his dwarf assistant harvest body parts for cannibals in the audience. Shot for $125,000, picked up by Trauma years later, it played under the softer title The Incredible Torture Show, until moral crusaders blew whistles. The MPAA handed out an X. Some states banned it outright. Midnight crowds loved the bad taste buffet. Brain-sucking straws, tooth-pulling pliers, eyeball hors d'oeuvres. Critics gagged, but Reed claimed hidden satire on human trafficking. Maybe. Mostly it's a sledgehammer of Grand Guignol splatter that refuses to apologize. Eli Roth calls it SNL on bath salts. If you can't laugh at a ballerina getting turned into a human dartboard, this one's not for you, and possibly nobody else either. 15. Pink Flamingos, 1972. John Waters spent $10,000 on 16mm stock, a trailer in Baltimore, and a cast of counterculture misfits led by 300-pound drag icon, Defying. The result? A cinematic dare, bestiality, incest, actual chicken crushings, and that final dog poop dessert shot heard round the world. Midnight audiences dry-heaved and cheered. The American Family Association tried, and failed, to outlaw screenings. Multiple U.S. towns declared it obscene, while Australia slapped on a 25-year ban. Yet the Library of Congress later preserved it in the National Film Registry. Waters beams, "It's my Trojan horse of filth." The irony is delicious. A film banned for indecency now archived as national heritage. Eat that, Mom, and pass the barf bag. 16. In the realm of the senses, 1976. Nagisa Oshima dramatized the true 1930s Tokyo affair, where servant Sada Abe strangled her lover during sex and kept a souvenir slice. No body doubles, no cutaways, everything shot unsimulated. Japanese labs refused to process the negatives. Oshima shipped them to France, dodging obscenity laws. U.S. Customs confiscated prints, leading to a landmark court battle that finally loosened the legal definition of art versus porn. Even trimmed, some American cities banned it into the 1990s. Costing roughly $1 million, it recouped fast on European art house shock value. Today, film classes study it for gender politics. Casual viewers just remember the severed anatomy. Oshima famously declared, "My film is about freedom." Freedom apparently comes with a content warning sticker larger than the poster. 17th Caligula, 1979. Gore Vidal wrote a political epic. Tinto Brass shot a decadent orgy. Penthouse mogul Bob Guccione secretly spliced hardcore footage after hours. Budget ballooned to $17.5 million, unheard of for an indie. But American censors choked. The uncut version screened only in adult theaters. Many states refused it entirely. Actors Malcolm McDowell and Helen Mirren disowned the porno cut, yet their performances still shine through gallons of lubricant and blood. U.S. grosses hit $23 million anyway, proving curiosity beats prudery every time. Modern reviewers call it Shakespeare on Quaaludes. Guccione laughed all the way to the bank. Vidal sued and lost. The director got fired. Everyone else got a headache. Caligula remains the messiest, priciest cautionary tale in exploitation history. 18. The Driller Killer, 1979. Abel Ferrara scraped together $20,000, starred under a pseudonym, and roamed 1970s New York, drilling vagrant skulls while punk rock blared. The UK's Video Recordings Act made its VHS cover, power tool to forehead. The poster child for moral decay. Police seized thousands of tapes. Uncut release came only in 2002. American theaters barely touched it, but midnight crowds vibed with its urban despair. Ferrara insists it's more Catholic guilt trip than horror, yet the whirring Makita says otherwise. Grainy 16mm gives everything a rat-infested documentary feel. After the credits roll, Times Square somehow looks cleaner, and your ears keep ringing like a drill bit hitting bone. 19th Island of Death, 1976. Greek director Nikos Mastorakis saw Texas Chainsaw and said, "Hold my ouzo." A British couple visits Mykonos and proceeds to poison, burn, and mutilate anyone they deem immoral. Hippies, gays, shepherds, even a poor goat. Shot for $100K in blazing island sun, it hides ugliness behind postcard vistas. British censors banned it for 25 years. U.S. distributors passed, forcing fans to import gray market Pole tapes. Mastorakis later claimed satire on religious hypocrisy. Skeptics point to the goat scene and laugh bitterly. Still, synth-pop soundtrack plus sun-bleached depravity equals a curio that won't stay buried. Vinegar Syndrome's Blu-ray now sits on hipster shelves beside Sunscreen. Talk about shelf shock. 20th. Goodbye. Uncle Tom, 1971. Imagine Mondo Kane, directors Jacopetti and Prosperi, traveling back to antebellum America with helicopters and documenting slavery as if filming wildlife. Shot in Haiti with dictator Papa Doc's blessing and extras, it stages whippings, forced breeding, and child abuse with documentary detachment. U.S. importers balked. Limited midnight runs met protest picket lines until the prince vanished. Critics screamed exploitation masquerading as social commentary. The directors claimed they wanted to make racists puke. Viewers mostly just puked. Today it's studied as the Mondo genre's nadir. Proof a camera pointed at atrocity doesn't equal activism. 21st. Gestapo's Last Orgy, 1977. A survivor revisits the SS brothel where she suffered torture, triggering flashbacks of cannibal banquets and baby immolations. Italian director Cesare Canivari wrapped it for €150,000. British Customs seized all copies in 1984. Uncut U.S. release waited until the DVD era. Acting is soap opera bad, but the imagery stomps boundaries. Human stew, flesh branded with swastikas. Exploitation scholars debate whether it condemns fascism or cashes in on it. Either way, the title doesn't lie. This is less a movie than a war crime on celluloid. Handle with tongs. 22. The Toolbox Murders, 1978. Before Tobe Hooper remade it, Dennis Donnelly's original sent a ski mask killer through an LA apartment complex wielding drill, nail gun, and claw hammer. Inspired by real unsolved murders, it cost $165,000 and grossed just under $1 million, solid for cheap terror. The UK banned it until 2000. Some U.S. towns demanded cuts. Sleazy marketing trumpeted based on a true story, while Roger Ebert blasted its misogyny. Yet the gritty 16mm realism and Cameron Mitchell's unhinged performance still chill. Think Psycho if Norman Bates owned a Home Depot. 23. Don't Go in the House, 1979. Childhood abuse plus flamethrower equals ash. Don't let the generic title fool you. Donnie Kohler traps women in a steel-lined room and sets them on fire, reliving his mother's scalding punishments. MPAA demanded massive cuts. New Jersey yanked its license mid-run. The UK banned it for years. Director Joseph Ellison spent $250,000, shot in a condemned mansion smelling of real soot and layered industrial noise over jump scares. Some viewers walked out during the first immolation, gagging on popcorn. Today, fire safety classes mistakenly screen clips as cautionary tales. Nobody stays for the credits. 24th Death Weekend, 1976. Also known as The House by the Lake, this Canadian proto-home invasion thriller pits a model and dentist against macho drag racers in Ontario wilderness. Director William Fruet's $350,000 budget yielded seat-shaking car stunts and a final shotgun revenge that predates Straw Dog's territory. U.S. drive-ins loved it until local sheriffs noticed real sexual violence vibes and shut it down. Britain's BFC sliced 2 minutes. Uncut versions circulated on bootlegs marked R18. Pam Grier fans expecting blaxploitation walked out disappointed, but exploitation fiends still salute its raw tension and bitter Canadian chill. 25. The Sinful Dwarf, 1973. Nothing prepares you for Olaf, a sadistic dwarf who lures runaway girls into attic slavery with heroin-laced teddy bears. Shot in Copenhagen for pennies, released stateside by sleaze merchant Harry Novak, it swiftly vanished after obscenity raids in Bible Belt towns. Video stores hid it behind curtains. Word of mouth kept it alive until DVDs re-emerged in the 2000s. Grotty 1.6, 6:1 framing, warped toy box music, and a climax involving a cane sword leave viewers wondering if they dreamed the whole fever. Anytime you think exploitation can't sink lower, Olaf giggles and proves you wrong. 26. Salo, or The 120 Days of Sodom, 1975. Pier Paolo Pasolini transposed Marquis de Sade's debauchery to fascist Italy, then filmed under death threats. Sewage dining, scalping, sexual torture, all art house crisp in 35mm. U.S. Customs detained prints, some states banned it outright. The MPAA stamped an X, later NC-17. Theaters needed police escorts. Pasolini was murdered weeks before release, fueling cursed film lore. Costing $750,000, it made back triple overseas. Criterion now issues lavish box sets with essays titled The Politics of Filth. Students take notes, casual viewers take trauma to therapy. 27th. Mondo Erotico, 1973. A sleazy documentary narrated like travel porn. European nudist camps, Japanese bondage clubs, Afghani belly dancers, anything exotic, anything undressed. Produced for drive-ins at $60,000, it got seized in Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi under local obscenity codes. The FCC fined late-night TV stations for airing ads. Church groups picketed projection booths. Despite zero plot, it earned $2 million, proving narrated nudity sells. Today, it's a curiosity in Mondo box sets, filed between scorpion-eating rituals and shockumentaries about voodoo. Exhibit A in the argument that educational labels can hide a universe of grindhouse sin. Need more Midnight Madness, box office numbers, or banned country breakdowns? Just holler.